My city's proximity to one of the most geologically diverse canyons along the Front Range of the Colorado Rockies provides abundant urban rock hunting opportunities. Let's check out these two sets of amazing parking lot barrier rocks, huge ones that are just across the street from each other. A young man named John came out of one of the businesses there as I was filming. Very friendly, but concerned, since such rocks are often used as stashes for drug deals. His guard went down, however, as I told him about the channel and the geologic interest of these rocks. He graciously helped me get this short clip of myself here. I used to be terrified to be seen in public, but as the times have changed, and especially as we consider what
really weird
things that are seen on our streets these days, I guess an albino YouTuber hunched over parking lot rocks squirting them with a spray bottle isn't so bad after all. Here we are seeing two boulders of a coarse-grained granitic material, and what is unique about these is that they were obviously gathered on the surface someplace, as is evidenced by the very rounded, crumbly surface indicative of the granite exfoliating over time on long weathered surfaces. This process creates an extremely sharp, jagged surface as the individual crystals become exposed, and yet at a distance, what was once a solid block of granite with some fractures can now appear like a wall of neatly stacked giant rounded stones, causing one to wonder, who put that wall there? Here are photos where my daughter and I visited nearby Vidavoo Rocks a few years ago, a place that spectacularly exhibits this erosional habit of coarse granites. These pieces here also show fresh breakage exposing the mineral makeup of the rock, as well as breakage along fractures or veins that appear to be lined with hematite. It's interesting to see this material here because in the local Cache la Poudre River, it is quite common to find granite similar to this with many brown lines and veins passing through it. There are also a few smaller river cobbles here, such as this beautiful piece of what appears to be of massive gray quartz with a darker vein making up much of the rock. With that, let's go ahead and head across the street and see some more Poudre Canyon geology brought close to home. With a few exceptions that we will look at towards the end, most of these rocks appear to be of a very fine-grained amphibolite of some kind, with a very dark greenish-black color, and not much really in terms of sparking immediate interest. But what I do notice on many of these amphibolites is an abundance of very flat fracture surfaces. When we look at large riprap boulders or landscaping rock, be on the lookout for these surfaces because they are often host to various and interesting surprises that really have little to do with whatever kind of rock we may be looking at. One such treasure is known as slicken sides, where the surface of a fracture is actually a fault line on which movement occurred at some point in the past, polishing and grooving the rock surface with smooth parallel lines, giving us clues about past movements within the earth and even earthquakes. Here is a picture of a good example of slickenside that I found in southern Montana, since I did not find any among these rocks today. But what I do see on these surfaces are some vivid colors and patterns caused by mineral deposits within these fractures. Just look how bright these colors can be. This rather large boulder of amphibolite has many parallel fractures going through it, which can be seen on the flat exposed surfaces, as well as the many veins running through the rock. Some of these veins appear to be filled with epidote, and others with quartz, and even some hematite seems to be present. It would be interesting to see what these colorful veins would look like had the rock split along them. The bright colors would really stand out against such a dull and dark host rock. If you've been following along with my Rocky Mountain River rock hunting adventure series, you know that in the Cache la Poudre River we have an overabundance of precisely this type of amphibolite with the green veins. So we know that this boulder, along with the others, most likely did come from our local canyon area. You can see here on this exposed fracture that does not appear to have ever really been filled with minerals to the extent of an actual vein, but even so, look how colorful and intricate the crystallization patterns are when we get it wet. Remember that this is just a very thin coating, and just underneath is a relatively plain dark rock that we might otherwise never stop to appreciate. Look how dark and uninteresting this next rock is on its fresh break where I had my hand. This will be the last of our amphibolites for the day, and it is an even better example of why we need to really be on the lookout for those flat fracture surfaces we've been talking about. Just look at the intricacy and variety of the mineralizations and even dendritic oxide crystallizations that cover this face of the rock. Those of you who are more skilled in such mineralizations, please leave some detailed comments as to what all of this might be. This could literally be framed and outdo even the most colorful modern art pieces we see in museums nowadays. Again, remember that this is just a hair-thin coating on an otherwise black rock. Well, this beauty of a boulder I won't even try to guess on in terms of its description. Trevor, maybe you can help me out here? It's still a rather mafic rock, but with more of a granitic crystalline texture and somewhat porphyritic. But what I do want to point out is how these veins are really just hairline fractures, and groundwater has oxidized the rock on either side, making it appear as a yellowish vein. But if you look closely, you can still see the original fractures. Elsewhere, we can see where the rock broke along such a fracture, and the fracture surface is noticeably red, and yet it is obviously the same rock in terms of the composition that is visible. I strongly encourage you to come back from time to time and check the comments, as people more knowledgeable than I will likely be adding some great information as time goes by about these rocks. This smaller boulder is quite plain other than the unique fracture pattern we see here. I know that fracturing and breakage is a whole separate science, and so I wanted to get this in here for you. Well, I think we will wrap things up with this last pair of what appeared to be a fine-grained granitic rock. Remember that there are dozens of detailed classifications of the many plutonic igneous rocks, and so I use the term granitic referring more to its texture and structure rather than classifying it as a granite. The exact naming depends upon the minerals present and in what percentages they are found. I point out these couple of boulders, however, because they also have some of those flat fracture surfaces we were talking about earlier. And they have what appear to be, although poorly formed, iron or manganese oxide dendrites. Sometimes these can appear as intricate fossil ferns. And so I just want to say, keep on looking. I trust you have found this video meaningful, and I also value your likes and comments. Please share, and if you have not already, subscribe so you don't miss out on future adventures.